What a few days stretch for this guy. He and Charles Davis are a phenomenal listen on CBS. Calls the Bills beating the Ravens. Then his son, Noah, calls the Saints beating the Bears on Nickelodeon, which was a phenomenal broadcast in that respect.
Yep.
And then he's also the voice of the Brooklyn Nets in Brooklyn, New York. Harden joins that group just yesterday. And he's blessed enough. I mean, the man's called the Hail Murray. He's also called the Miracle in Miami. Essentially, if the Catskills and Gus Johnson had a baby, it would be Ian Eagle.
Wow.
Of CBS joining me right here in the Rich Eisen. How's that for an introduction, Ian? What about that?
Well, I'd like to see that conception, actually, Rich. That's very intriguing. Rich, my phone is ringing off the hook, as you could well imagine.
Yes.
I've had to hire a personal assistant in the last 6 hours. Hold on one sec. Thad, tell them no. I'll call them back. Tomorrow. Yeah. Thad, tomorrow. No, we're good. Sorry about that.
By the way, first of all, outstanding use of Thad, by the way.
I feel like that's the quintessential assistant.
Thad.
Yeah.
Thaddeus.
Thad, the assistant. Great.
Thaddeus Horn
I
III.
mean, wow. Let's start with the addition of James Harden to this team. And how in the world, how is this going to work, do you think?
Yeah, holy smokes.
Right?
That hit like wildfire yesterday. Obviously, there had been some news regarding Harden because it didn't seem like he wanted to stay in Houston. The Nets and the Philadelphia 76ers had engaged in conversations with the Rockets. So I think a few things were at play here. One, the relationship with the Rockets for Harden was irreparable, so that made this time frame change extensively.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think the Nets were interested from the very beginning and also interested in making sure Philadelphia did not acquire James Harden. So there were a few games being played here. The Nets feel like now they've got the star quality to vie for a championship. They put their chips right to the middle of the table. They are all in. How it all plays out from a basketball standpoint, I'm not sure. And obviously the Kyrie Irving situation is one that you can't just dismiss. Is he coming back? When is he coming back? What's his mindset right now? Is he committed to this team? All of these are reasonable questions, and there are no real answers right now until he comes out and addresses them personally.
Well, I guess the questions for Kyrie could be, amended as well, Ian, as to why did he go away at all? And why wouldn't he be all in on all of this? Where is he? We could keep going, but can you give me an omnibus answer to what you referred to as the Kyrie Irving situation?
Yeah, I just don't know much. First of all, it's a private matter, so I don't know what he's going through, if this is something very personal that he's dealing with. And then secondly, just based on the circumstances right now in professional sports, there's very little access. You don't see players. I literally have not seen a Net in person since the start of the season. I've not seen a coach. Everything has been done virtually. I went through an entire NFL season. I didn't see one player. I didn't see one head coach. I didn't see one assistant coach. So the normal back and forth that you enjoy when you do this job for a long time and the interaction that helps you do your job better is just not there. And we're all adjusting to it. It's part of the deal. Nobody's complaining about it. It's just the reality. So trying to get answers is not very easy right now. And I'm not even sure anyone has the answers. It is a bit of a mystery. And my hope is we get some facts here over the next 24, 48 hours. The league is now involved because of the video that surfaced of Kyrie at a birthday party for his dad and for his sister. And now it becomes a serious matter where the league is going to have a say in when and if Kyrie Irving returns, not just the Nets and Kyrie Irving making that decision.
Ian Eagle here on the Rich Eisen Show. A couple more minutes left here on the Nets. I guess one thing you have to deal, I guess, in what we already do know in that regard. And two things. One, I think I can see just sitting from my couch here in Los Angeles, and the other, I'd love to get some insight from you. One is Durant looks Durant. I mean, right? Like we don't have many questions here, right? That he's the guy, that he's all the bill of goods that the Nets wanted him to be when they got him with his Achilles and everything, right?
Yeah, and from a play-by-play man standpoint, you know the guy is coming. You wait a year for him to put the uniform on. The anticipation builds and builds and builds, and you think to yourself, well, there's no way he can live up to it, right? There's just no way. He's coming off injury. It's going to take a little time. It's 8 straight games of 25 or more points. He's already tied a franchise record held by the great Bernard King, who's not ever thought of as a member of the Nets,
right,
because he did most of his damage as a Knick. Durant is going to be breaking many records, a multitude of records for this Nets team, and he's done everything that they've asked him to do, and he's done even more.
And now, I guess the question would be about Nash, if he's ready for all of this, where Kyrie is the big unknown. We're assuming Harden will just be Harden once he gets into game shape, and he's in a spot where he's clearly happy to be.
Yep.
And then put it all together with who's still left. I mean, Karis LeVert was dynamic. He was terrific. So I guess walk me through Nash's readiness for a very 4-dimensional gig coaching for the Nets here.
Yeah, I would think, Rich, the only other option at head coach right now would be Dr. Joyce Brothers.
Nice.
That's what we're thinking, that it's going to require some deep, deep thought to make sure everything is in line, to juggle the personalities involved. Everything that I've heard up until this point, Sean Marks just addressed the media, was that the guys are all in. They've all said the right things. We want to win. That's what you needed to hear, not about individual accolades. Kevin Durant, he wants to win. He wants to win a championship with his team. James Harden, there is nobody in the NBA that wants to win more than him. His resume is not complete because he doesn't have the championship. Kyrie does. Durant does. This is the motivation for James Harden. And then the Kyrie part of it, I think really what it boils down to is the communication and the fact that there wasn't any. If someone is dealing with something, I think in this day and age, we all recognize you got to go deal with it in the way you have to deal with it, and there's a respect level there. But if you don't communicate to the people within the organization of what's going on, that's where the distraction occurs, and that's where the mystery unfolds, and it creates so much more to this story than there needed to be if it was dealt with correctly right away.
Iron Eagle here on the Rich Eisen Show. Okay, so that's the Nets part of it. Let's get to the CBS Sports part of it. Do you have to ask Thad for your CBS Sports blazer, or can we just get right into it? Go for it.
Thad, let's do a wardrobe change, if we could. Yeah, treat it like the Oscars, Thad. Yeah, we're good.
By the way, you gotta get me Thad's number. I don't mean to poach him, but clearly he's a jack of all trades.
I've only known him for 4 hours, so I don't even understand the dynamic between the two of them.
Okay, very good. Best of luck with that. So, okay, the Bills, how for real are they? Based on you called their latest win, you called their last loss as well with the Hail Murray. You've been exposed to this team quite a bit. What do you think?
I was reminded of that a few times as we were preparing for the game in Western New York.
Nice.
I got a few of those messages. Like, hey, man, get a little of that bad juju that you got in you. And I play no role in this. You understand that?
Yes.
No role.
They also scored a touchdown instead of what we all assumed was going to be a game-tying field goal just a couple minutes before. An amazing throw by Allen.
Thank you,
come on
Rich.
now.
Where were you?
Come on.
I needed you last week to handle this, not Thad. I think Buffalo validated a lot of things. And I've seen this with teams where you have a breakthrough season, and you don't want to talk about the pressure that comes with it when you hit the playoffs, because that's really when you're going to be judged. And the Bills, they did downplay that. I thought they were really loose throughout the week, and in our conversations with them, they handled everything the right way. Sean McDermott struck the right chord. Everybody that we talked to had the right narrative in place. But then when things got a little touchy against the Colts, and Indianapolis played well, there were some tough decisions made and certainly questionable decisions. I get a lot of texts during the game, Rich, and I look down at my phone, and when it starts to buzz and not just buzz once every 3 minutes, buzz once every 10 seconds when Reich decides to go for the 2-point conversion, and when a couple other decisions are made. And there are a lot of guys that lock in on the analytics, and they tell me all the time, that was the right call, that's the right move. And I think to myself, okay, but they didn't win.
Right.
The teams that make these decisions, I fully understand them. I embrace the idea that there is science behind this, but you have to eventually win in order to make me a true believer in all of this. And I've had a number of situations over the last few years where these things pop up, where your instincts, your football instincts tell you one thing, and then counterintuitive to what you believe is actually happening on the field. So with Indianapolis, they were aggressive. I think Buffalo had all they could handle, but Josh Allen has truly become one of those QBs that you've got to keep an eye on now for the next 7 or 8 years. He's figured stuff out. Doesn't make it clear. I think they're going to be supremely challenged this week by Baltimore. Ironically, I did that Ravens-Titans game a year ago, divisional weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I think Baltimore's better prepared today than they were a year ago to go on an extended run. And I know that's insane to say when you win 13 games and you're the clear favorite to go to the Super Bowl in 2019, and now here we are a year later for 2020 and into 2021 with the playoffs. I think they're better. I just like their team better this year.
Well, the Saturday night weather for Orchard Park, New York, Ian, I don't know if you're by the way, I do provide traffic as well on the sixes here. That it looks like it's supposed to snow heavily. And the moment when Zach Moss got carted off in the game that you called, I thought to myself, well, this team moving forward, because I assumed that they were going to win. The score looked favorably for the Bills at the time, even though it did get very tight at the end. I thought to myself, this does not bode well in the playoffs if they require a running game to either limit the possession for the opposing quarterback, like, say, Mahomes, or need to win because the passing game gets shut down, either defensively or by something like the weather. That genuinely concerns me. That definitely, I would think, gives the Ravens an advantage on Saturday night.
Yeah, legitimate point. T.J. Yeldon, I believe, is back in the mix, but even with that said, Buffalo has not run the ball all that well this year. Josh Allen has been terrific, and I think a lot of it is a byproduct of the fact that he just became so comfortable as a passer, and their downfield threats were real, and Stephon Diggs has changed the offense. But even when they've had to run, where you've looked at it and you thought, all right, they're going to have to be a running team now, I don't know if that's their bread and butter as much anymore. Allen is still their single biggest weapon in that part of the game. Devin Singletary numbers were down from his rookie year to his second year. The Moss injury certainly hurts because he was a grinder and a short yardage runner and dependable. So, good point. Baltimore has to feel pretty good going in, and the fact that they've gotten the whole Lamar Jackson winning a playoff game off to the side, so that's no longer even a story, allows them to maybe free up their mind and just do their thing. And as I mentioned, I'm not leaning towards telling you who's going to win the game. I just think that the Baltimore Ravens are a really good team, and the way they got to this point is going to help them more than the way they got to this point a year ago.
Ian Eagle here on the Rich Eisen Show. Before I send you off into your Thursday, sir, I'm going to give you the floor on perhaps any father's favorite subject, which is their child or their children. Your son, here we know in Los Angeles, is the voice of the Clippers. We know how Noah Eagle can call a game and is excellent at his job. I got to tell you, man, that Nickelodeon broadcast, because I got a 12, I've got a 9, and a 7-year-old at home. I wanted to just see how they would react to it. And then once they left the room, because, they don't listen to their father, I found myself staying with the broadcast, Ian. It would not have worked had your son not been so good at doing the doing the nuts and bolts, but also bringing what clearly is, from your tree here, a sensibility and his own, fingerprint. I couldn't be more thrilled for you and for him, and it was awesome. It was just great, man. Really was.
Yeah. Rich, it's the ultimate compliment. Everything that you just said definitely hits me in all the right places. I had a net game as this game was going on, so it was Nets Oklahoma City. I'm calling Shea Gilgeous-Alexander gliding to the rim, and my phone is blowing up. So my sense was either this is going really well or it's going really poorly, one or the other. And you have to be some kind of masochist if it's going really poorly that you're going to check in with the kid's dad and tell him, hey, this is a mess. So I then synthesized the information that it's probably going pretty well. And I got to read some of the texts as we hit a break. And, yeah, I was blown away. I came home, I ended up watching it off the DVR. And it was amazing. As a dad, my wife Elisa, my daughter Erin, just our whole family, and the reaction that we got, how well received it was. I was just really happy for Noah because I know he put a lot into it. He was so excited about it. It was so different and new, and the novelty of it. And Nate Burleson and Gabby and Lex from Nickelodeon, everybody wanted to do it the right way. The producer, Ken Mack, director, Suzanne Smith, Sean Robbins, coordinating producer, everybody. Oh. Everybody was committed to really doing something special.
Well, Ken Mack and I go back to the U.S. Open days, on CBS. He's a delightful person who's a great dad, so that makes I had no idea that he was part of that. It was real, and obviously I would have talked it up, too, just for out of friendship's sake. But I mean every word, and I thought the and I mentioned it here on the show as well, that this broadcast to me, the fact that your son was the one who did it too. The fact that your son was able to properly and easily explain the catch rule to a child audience means that the NFL was the ultimate, latest, lock solid piece of evidence that the NFL has fixed the catch rule. Able to make it understandable to children. It worked. It was great.
You're so right, though. But really, that's what it boiled down to. And when I talked to Noah that morning, I didn't want to inundate him with 20 things to keep in mind for the broadcast. I just tried to boil it down to 3 things. And I said, first and foremost, you have to have command of the broadcast. You have to set the tone of what this is going to be. Nobody knows what you've been talking about for the last few weeks and your Zoom meetings and your rehearsals. Nobody knows. So when you come on the air, the tone has to be set that this isn't going to be a normal NFL telecast. I said, 2, you got to be a point guard. You got to be able to spread the ball around. You got to get everybody a touch. That has to be at the foremost of your focus. And then 3, you must have fun. If you're not having fun, the audience is not going to have fun, and that has to permeate throughout the broadcast. And I tried, at least from a dad standpoint advice, and then from a fellow broadcaster standpoint, just to key in on a few things to keep your mind right. And boy, did they not check every box. I was blown away and just thrilled and beyond proud and entertained. Also, that's the best part of it when it really does resonate in that manner.
Me too. I felt the same way. Brockman, what Ian is doing right now is known as kvelling. That's what he's doing. He's kvelling right now.
I
about his child. That's what it is. You can look it up.
Look, Thad Brockman, a thesaurus.
Thank you.
A Yiddish. Yad has a Yiddish thesaurus. He's amazing. It's like Inspector Gadget. That's amazing.
Yes, it's Thad Rosenstein, Rich. I didn't want to get into actual names. But...
I and Noah and myself, all Syracuse Orangemen, Rich.
Okay, very good. Very good. Thad went to he went to Newhouse as well. Go figure. I didn't know that. Ian.
No, Thad went arts and science.
Ian, thanks for the call, man. I truly appreciate it. Well, let's keep talking. I always enjoy our chats, and send my best to everybody in your household. Noah, your wife, your child, Thad, your daughter, all of them. Tell all the Eagles I said hello.
Rich, ditto. Truly, always great talking to you, and I'm glad we've been able to take our relationship to the next level. We are now texting friends.
We are that.
That's official.
We are texting friends. Thanks, Ian. Appreciate it. You take care. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.